right, hello wine-drinking people. Today is Thursday, September 30th. Got a little Mozzie tasting tonight, a little Sangiovese blending seminar up at Cafe Max. It's pretty much sold out, along with the cooking class, pretty much sold out. Tomorrow night, vintage Spanish tasting in the store, going all the way back to 1942 with Marques Marietta y Gay. A little room for that one. We may not make it through all 8 wines if we don't get a few more calls from you folks. Don't make me bring the leg of ham back out. We're going to be serving that tomorrow night. Starting with that tomorrow night, we'll be finishing it probably next week with the La Spinetta tasting, which is the subject of what I'm trying to sell you today. And then we'll probably bust a little bit out for the Bordeaux tasting. 2009 Bordeaux with Bill Blatch in the store on Tuesday. We've got 4 events next week. Just trying to stay busy so I stay out of trouble, folks. All right, you see all the drinking that I'm doing, and that's what it's time for now. What I drank yesterday. And Jay Walmer from Selected Brands did a sneaky thing to me yesterday, you know. Jay, you're smart, buddy. You've been in this business for a while, all right? You used your appointment to the fullest yesterday. We got 3 different people in the course of an hour and 15 minutes. Good work. Well, the first thing we had to drink was about 20 minutes into his appointment, though, with Mr. Bortolotti. I'm sorry, I didn't get his card. I forgot his name. Actually, this is a producer that makes great Prosecco from the Valdobbiadene region. And Prosecco is a name that's kind of been bastardized a little bit because it's the name of a grape. It also was the name of the wine that was produced within this region. And a lot of people were a little confused, so they've changed the laws a little bit with Prosecco. It's also the name of a town in this region. But the best stuff comes from the Valdobbiadene, DOCG. And I think as of 09, that is a DOCG. This is the first vintage. And, well, most of these wines have a non-vintage designation, but just like Champagne, most of them come from one single vintage, or a blend of a couple vintages, 2 at the most 3 usually. The first wine up, we had the Extra Dry. Extra Dry is a little misleading because it's actually sweeter than Brut. And the Brut is pretty much the same in Cava, which is what they call sparkling wine in Spain, Spumante, sparkling wine in Italy, and in France. Although I don't think by law it's exactly the same, but pretty much. So Extra Dry in Italy is going to be a little sweeter than Brut, just like it is in Champagne. 15 grams of residual sugar, lovely fresh pear and green apple fruit, light floral notes, and even though it had all that sweetness, lovely acidity. One of the things that I agreed with Mr. Bortolotti about, you have to have great acidity if you have sweetness. The wine has got to finish dry. So very nice, very balanced, and a nice little drink. And these wines are all produced using the Charmat method, so not the method champenoise. It's a little less expensive. You get a little bigger bubbles, maybe not quite as fine a mousse, but these are about as good at Proseccos as you will find. And maybe fit for blending with something other than peach nectar and making Bellini out of, or rather not blending and drinking by themselves, which is what I normally recommend you do with Prosecco. All right, next up we had the Valdobbiadene Bruts, and Glera is another one of the synonyms for Prosecco, so that's what they're calling this varietal, I guess, to make it a little more distinct than just the average Prosecco out there. Also has lovely, similar fruit to it, green apple and pears, with that lovely, pretty floral notes on it, but quite a bit drier on the palates. Only 7 grams of residual sugar, very fresh and very clean finish. Next up, we had the Dolce, which I'm not a huge fan of sparkling sweet wines. I do love sweet wines. We got a great selection of Sauternes and other ports and other sweet wines here in the store. This one had a kind of a quinine kind of note to it, tangerine fruit, pears, white hibiscus flowers, 55 grams of residual sugar, so quite a bit of sweetness here. But again, these wines very well balanced, definitely finished up on the dry side. All right, next up, we actually had Jay in to show us the new wines of Shug. Shug, well, Charles Shug was the first guy that made Bordeaux-style blend in California, while Napa Valley. Insignia was his brainchild, and worked at Joseph Phelps for years. And his wines with his name, very good, very solid made wines, and very balanced style. We had 2 Chardonnays, the Carneros and the Sonoma Coast. Sonoma Coast a little bit more bright in fruit, a little bit more acidic, and the Carneros a little bit more elegant, a little bit, had a little more roasted grain, a little more toasty oak in there, a little bit of more flinty minerality to it, but both pretty good. The Pinot Noir, we had 2 of those, the Sonoma Coast and the Carneros, and hey, if you're going to make 2 different wines, you might as well make them a little bit different rather than tasting the same, and that's what wine, Pinot and Chardonnay are all about. Place, one of the greatest expressions of terroir is Burgundy, and you notice the same varietal and many different expressions of it through the different regions. The Sonoma Coast, to me, again, more bright fruit, cranberry, red cherry fruit, lovely fresh floral tones, some light spice, little light smoky tobacco nuance. Very nice and clean on the finish. Zesty and leaves the tongue salivating for food. The Carneros Pinot, a little lighter, a little more elegant. Some lovely allspice and fresh plowed earth, a little more minerality to it as well. Red cherry and raspberry-like fruit, and some fresh picked floral notes on the finish. Also really nice, balanced, and elegant style. Okay, pretty nice wines. Maybe a little expensive. I don't know. I thought the Shug wines were a little cheaper. Maybe we gotta get the pencil sharpener out on this one. Okay, next up we had Niccolò. Niccolò is a small importer, distributor of Italian wines. I'm sorry, my Russian accent came out a little bit there. But I like to do business with guys like Niccolò. You know, he's got some interesting food products we may bring in for the catering business, and some really interesting wines. We have a Lambrusco from him in the store, which is fabulous. I mean, Lambrusco is not actually something you find in a lot of fine wine shops. It's more of a grocery store type wine, but they do make nice wine in areas like this. And then I've got a Franciacorta Rosé from him, also excellent. And he had some nice wines from southern Italy, from Donnachiara, another one of these wineries that the name just rolls off of your tongue. And they do Greco di Tufo, Fiano di Avellino, and Aglianico, the great red grape of the south. And these wines were very good, very typical of what you get from this region. And yeah, maybe a little expensive, but hey, good wine is, and we like to do business with small guys. And we may bring some of that stuff in the store. The Aglianico Erpina was, to me, the best wine in that lineup. And then you know I'm having wine for dinner. That's right, folks. And I had some friends over last night. As you can see, I didn't finish all three of these myself, but they are all three dead. So I had a little bit of help last night. And, well, the Dow's Val de Bonfim, one of the best values I have in the store for $10. This is a blend of the traditional grapes they use in Portugal: Tinta Barroca, Tinta Sal, Tinta Roriz, Touriga Nacional, and just made in a dry fashion. A great little everyday wine. Has got layers of flavors, maybe a little light in body, but has a lot of flavor to it and really fresh finish. This was my favorite wine of these three last night. It was the cheapest one. Hey, can't say that. Sorry, we got the Fontarutoli guys, the Mazzi brothers, in tonight. But the Castello di Fontarutoli 2001. I figured we'd check this wine out just to see how it was drinking. And 2001, a great vintage in Tuscany. And this wine threw quite a bit of sediment. And I always tell people that is a good sign. It's a sign of a handmade wine when you have sediment, but I would recommend decantering this. Very classic Sangiovese, a lot of fresh earth, a little black tar, some truffle notes in there, and some light red berry fruit. Very nice, drinking beautiful. We'll show that again tonight. And then the Blue Rock. And this is a wine from Alexander Valley. The vineyard's right next to a Silver Oaks property there. This Syrah used to be $35. We have it on sale for $15. It's an estate bottle product and a fabulous wine. Drinking beautiful right now. 05 got a few years of bottle age to it. Soft, silky tannins. Lovely red, black plum and red cherry fruit, and some nice spice to it, some nice savoriness. This is not your Australian style Shiraz, more kind of a cross between a California and a Northern Rhone, but a great little value. And that's what I had to drink last night, folks. I'm your host, Andrew Lampazone, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying remember, always drink the good stuff first.